Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. All right. Welcome to the Mikestand. Today is, of course, Friday, February the 20th, 2026. So we're a little over a week away from of course, end of the month here. Almost 2 months through February. So, of course, as always, we're going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. Friendly reminder to everybody, of course, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will do my best to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Oh, let's see. Watched some more cartoons earlier today, of course, including a musical miniature from Walter Lantz that starred both Woody Woodpecker and Andy Panda. Kind of musical moments from Chopin. Saw Bugs take on an entire team of Gas House Gorillas and baseball bugs as well. Let's see. Saw a Herman cartoon from Novel Tunes, and kind of that transition period between his pairing with Henry the Rooster and Catnip. Saw the cartoon Catnipped from Screen Gems with basically the first in the series of Flippy and Flop, actually pretty much debuting almost a full year after the character Flippy and Flop made their debut on a Color Rhapsody cartoon. So, anyways, let's see. So we're coming up on 3 minutes here. Let's see. So I guess I'll start talking about what's on that. So there are about 3 articles I'm going to go over from MeTV Tunes. Apparently, there's some very interesting stuff coming out, all revolving around Hanna-Barbara properties. First off, I guess you're invited to Yogi Bear's 65th anniversary picnic. So we'll take a look at that. The first cast member for the live action Scooby Doo Mystery Inc. movie has been cast. We'll be looking at that. And then meet the man behind, of course, Yogi Bear, Elroy Jetson, Wally Gator, and more. And if you guys have been on here enough, you know exactly who they're talking about because I've talked about them as well. So that's what's on tap for tonight. Also, of course, we'll be getting all caught up on all the latest in pro wrestling, looking back to last night's Impact and Ring of Honor shows. Looking ahead to tonight and tomorrow night's wrestling event, tonight's SmackDown, which will again air on Sci-Fi. And I think I just realized is I guess they're airing on Sci-Fi because USA is doing the Olympics coverage. That's probably why SmackDown's been airing on Sci-Fi the last couple of weeks here. And then, and of course, we'll look ahead to tomorrow night's a Collision. WWE, of course, with tonight's SmackDown, will be continuing their build towards next Saturday's Elimination Chamber, and then we'll wrap things up with this day in each history. So now we're coming up on 5 minutes, so I guess I should go ahead and get started here then. So and away we go. All right, so here we go. And again, one last friendly reminder before we get started. If you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream so we can get some more friendly people to engage. I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, let's get going here. You're invited to Yogi Bear's 65th anniversary picnic. Hip hop, hip hip hooray! It's a special Yogi Day. Now, 65 years, probably from the time that his own show started. It wasn't 65 years from the character's debut. It was just from the time that he basically got his own show, as he was made his initial debut on the Huckleberry Hound show in 1958. So, that being said, published February 16th, which was well, today's the 20th, so that was actually this past Monday. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on here. Yogi's 65th anniversary picnic. Hey, 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 pack up those picnic baskets because we are heading to Jellystone for the 65th anniversary of the Yogi Bear Show. That I thought. To celebrate, MeTV Tunes is airing a special marathon of our favorite Yogi Bear episodes and movies starting at 6 a.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 a.m. Pacific on Sunday, February 22nd. Take a peek at the picnic menu starting off at 6 a.m., 5 Central, 3 Pacific. Yo Yogi. The Yo Yogi episode, Yogi and his friends are teenage detectives at the Jellystone Mall. We will be airing the episodes to tell the truth, forsooth, of Mises and Men in the Big Scoop. So that was full out. Then at 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 a.m. Pacific. So they're basically planning an entire day of Yogi Bear on Sunday to celebrate his 65th anniversary. At least the anniversary of the debut of the Yogi Bear show back in 1961. So this should be so if you're a Yogi fan, this should be a fun day for you then. 7 a.m., 6 Central, 4 a.m. Pacific, Yogi Space Race. Yogi Bear and his friends enter a race to different galaxies in space, but must battle in a variety of space creatures out to see that they don't finish the race. So they're giving a synopsis of each of the shows, and I'm guessing here. The featured episodes are the Neptune 9000 and the Prehistoric Planet. At 8 a.m., 7 Central, 5 Pacific, Yogi's Galaxy Goof Ups, Yogi, Huckleberry Hound, Quack Up, and Scare Bear work as space patrolmen, but they always goof up. The featured episodes are the Purloined Princess and the Detective Protective. Now, mind you, Yogi's Space Race and Yogi's Galaxy Goof Ups were part of the same show. Initially, it was just Yogi Space Race, but then Galaxy Goof Ups would join, and they kind of created the, I guess, the Superstars block. I believe it was in the early 80s. Then at 9 a.m., 8 Central, 6 a.m. Pacific, Yogi and the Invasion of Space Bears, a classic Yogi Bear movie where creatures from outer space choose Boo Boo and Yogi Bear to help with the invasion of Earth. Then at 11 a.m., 10 Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, Yogi's Ark Lark. Yogi Bear and Boo Boo, joined by Magilla Gorilla, Top Cat, and others, help rid the world of environmental dangers when traveling around in a flying ark. Now, granted, this was a show that was, of course, basically got the premiere, kind of spun off of the Saturday Supercade movies back in the early 70s there. So there you go. And then at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Pacific, Yogi's Great Escape. After hearing Jellystone Park might be closing, Yogi, Boo Boo, and 3 orphan bear cubs flee the forest so they will not be put in a zoo. Then at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 Central, 11 a.m. Pacific, and looks like this one's going to be a 4-hour block right here. The Yogi Bear Show. To celebrate the show's anniversary, we will be airing 4 hours of classic episodes, including Yogi's Birthday Party, which I believe was a special in which they did end up having the entire Hanna-Barbera's roster at the time all joining Yogi back in 1961. Love Bugged Bear, Arrow Error. It's a Duck's Life. Probably when he's paired with Yaki Doodle, I would think. And Oinks and Boinks, Major Operation, and Out of Luck Duck. And then at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific. Hey there, it's Yogi Bear. Yogi and Boo Boo leave Jellystone National Park to rescue Cindy Bear, who has fallen into the clutches of a circus owner. Tune in to Me TV Tunes starting at 6 a.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific on Sunday, February 22nd for an all-day buffet of Yogi Bear. Now, wouldn't that be fun if you could actually have a picnic with a pick-a-nick with Yogi Bear? Watch Yogi Bear on MeTV Tunes Saturdays at 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 a.m. Pacific. Also, you can catch the Yogi Bear Show alternating with Huckleberry Hound Show, I believe, at 2:30 weekday afternoons as well. So, but anyways, there we go with that first article there. And again, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Anyways, let's get ready to move on to the next article here. And here's the next article for Scooby-Doo fans out there. Netflix's live-action Scooby-Doo cast the first member of Mystery Inc. And it's Daphne. So Daphne is the first character to get cast in the live-action Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. show. So we have an update to the upcoming live-action Scooby-Doo Netflix series. And it's that they have cast the first member of Mystery Inc. McKenna Grace will be playing the role of Daphne Blake. McKenna Grace is one of the most popular teen actresses in Hollywood right now. You may know her from roles on I, Tonya, the Ghostbusters Afterlife, Young Sheldon, and Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale. In addition to her more dramatic roles, McKenna Grace is no stranger to the world of cartoons. She's an accomplished voice actor with roles on Gravity Falls, Clarence, The Angry Birds Movie, The Lion Guard, Elena of Avalor, and many more. This is not Grace's first time playing Daphne. She voiced young Daphne in the 2020 animated film Scoob and its holiday sequel, Scoob Holiday Haunt. So not only is she familiar with Daphne, the character, but she's also worked with the voice of Scooby-Doo, Frank Welker. So Frank Welker, that should be very interesting. And if they're going to do a mix of course, AI and for Scooby Doo animatronics, maybe with the live action Scooby Doo, look, maybe you can look forward to seeing or hearing Frank's voice in the movie as well. Anyways, I do need to step away from the computer for a quick moment. I'll be right back. I'll put some music on. Just a moment. All right, I'm back. So, anyways, get this article finished up. This one's pretty quickie too. Uh, hmm. So let's see. Grace discussed the announcement on her Instagram, captioning her post, quote, "Oh my jeepers! I can't believe life is real. I could cry all over again. Just looking at this announcement. So thankful, so excited." If you want a sneak peek of what Grace might look like playing Daffy, head to her Instagram, where fans have already discovered that she's dressed up as Daphne for Halloween 2024. Watch Scooby Doo on MeTV Tunes weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern for Central to Pacific, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 a.m. Pacific. All right, so now we have one more article to do. Wow, we're just doing pretty. Can do these pretty quickly here. And I know there was an article in between there, but that's an article. I believe that's just a repeat of an article I already read, in the past. So, anyways, let's see this. So this third article that we'll look at here. Meet the man behind Yogi Bear, Elroy Jetson, Wally Gator, and many more. The voice behind your favorite lions, gators, and bears. Oh my! Article published yesterday by MeTV Doom staff. So look at that. You got from left to right there, you got Elroy Jetson, Snagglepuss, Yogi Bear, and I believe that's Peter Perfect from Wacky Races. All right, so Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, and most of your favorite Hanna-Barbera cartoons wouldn't have a voice without Dawes Butler. As a child, he began to learn impressions to overcome his shyness and eventually became really good at it. So good that he was winning competitions at 18. He then began a radio career that, following a brief pause to serve in the Navy in World War II, um, would lead to being discovered by cartoonist Tex Avery, who at the time, around the time of World War II, Tex Avery, of course, was working for MGM. Of course, he was doing such cartoons as Droopy, Screwy Squirrel, all that. Who quickly cast Butler in several MGM cartoons. Yeah, I think he provided the voice of Butch in some Droopy cartoons. Hmm. All right. So, anyways, over his 40-year career, Butler not only portrayed dozens of cartoon characters, but also trained several famous voice actors, including Nancy Cartwright, who I believe is the voice of Bart Simpson, and Bob Bergen, who I think eventually took over some of Butler's roles, um, as well as Mel Blanc. His approach to each character shows a commitment to the art of voice acting, from his celebrity impressions to working with cartoonists to create a brand new voice for a character. Let's take a look at some of Butler's most famous characters. Mr. Jinx. In a 1964 interview with the Detroit Free Press, Butler said Mr. Jinx was his favorite character to voice. Now, Mr. Jinx, of course, the cat from Pixie Dixie and Mr. Jinx, a segment that was on the Huckleberry Hound show. You know, um, to voice a quote, because there is a drollness to him. You can do a lot of things with words, abuse them or elongate them. It's almost like blank verse. And Jinx has more sides to his character. Spike. So Butler now he took over the role of now Spike was originally voiced by the late great Billy Belcher, who you guys would who did a number. He was known as the little man with the big voice because he voiced a number of kind of tough bully like characters like Spike, for example, Butch in some of the Droopy cartoons, Pete in um, some of the earlier Walt Disney cartoons, among others. So Spike. So Butler first voiced Spike in 1949 in the short "Love That Pup." He voiced the character in the Tom and Jerry theatrical shorts until 1957, including kind of the spin-off of the Tom and Jerry cartoons, in which he co-starred with his son with his pup son Tyke. Number 3, Merlin the Magic Mouse, and in parentheses and Second Banana. Atascadero Escondido. Throughout his career, Butler provided additional voices in many Looney Tunes shorts. But one character he originated was Merlin the Magic Mouse and his assistant Second Banana. I believe this pair of characters came out during the latter end of the Warner Brothers cartoon studios run, in which they were co-producing cartoons with DePatie Frayling, David H. DePatie and Fritz Frayling. Number 4, Elroy Jetson. Butler's creative approach to voice acting for younger characters, particularly Elroy, included recruiting his 4 young sons to offer feedback on how to sound more like a kid. You can read more about it here. So, yes, he was a long time voice of Elroy Jetson. I think he also voiced Henry Orbit in that as well, in the Jetsons as well. Number 5, Larry Fine and Curly Joe DeRita. In the new Scooby-Doo movies, Butler voiced 2 out of the 3 Stooges. He also provided additional voices throughout the Scooby-Doo universe, occasionally filling in for Scrappy and Scooby-Doo. Peter Potamus. Butler described his approach to Peter Potamus as a physical improv experience. Speaking with the Detroit Free Press, he said, quote, "I see this big hippo with a big mouth, and I shape my mouth like this, and I talk like this." Kind of a bit of method acting going on there, don't you think? Man, can you imagine being in the studio when he's trying to voice Peter's Hurricane Hippo Holla? That would probably have been something to witness there. Number 7, Snagglepuss. Of course, the one of the co-stars on the Yogi Bear show in 1961. Snagglepuss's voice was inspired by a comedian Bert Lahr, who you may know as the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz. Butler's impersonation was so close that Lahr sued to credit Butler in the commercials, so audiences wouldn't get confused and think that, for example, Lahr was endorsing cereal brands. Butler also used this voice in The Funky Phantom when he played Mudsie the Ghost. Yeah, so The Funky Phantom basically follows Mudsie the Ghost there, who was alive during the Revolutionary War. So number 8, Huckleberry Hound, and yes, Huckleberry Hound. I think originally because it was he debuted in 1958 on TV, was probably seen more in black and white initially before. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine. For years, rumors swirled that Butler's inspiration for his laid-back Southern voice for Huckleberry Hound was Andy Griffith. Butler himself refuted this rumor, and instead it turns out he was inspired by his wife's neighbors in her hometown of Albemarle, North Carolina. Number 9, Loopy de Loop, the French wolf who wants to help everybody. He wants to kind of to kind of soften the reputation of wolves, as it were. Wee wee! Butler provided the outrageously exaggerated French Canadian accent for Hanna-Barbera's Do Good Wolf, Loopy de Loop. Number 10, The Red Max. Butler voiced many of the characters on Wacky Races, including the Red Max, a Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron style character. Butler approached the role by giving Red Max a very slight German accent. And of course, we talked about, of course, Peter Perfect as well, who we saw earlier. And speaking of Peter Perfect, there he is right there, holding a cat. Butler also voiced the British racer, Peter Perfect, in Wacky Races. Number 12, Lippy the Lion. Lippy the Lion and Hardy Har Har. Hardy Har Har, the hyena who would often come to Lippy the Lion. Hey Nate, hey Netsuri. Finally made it. Curse you, phone internet. Well, thanks for dropping in there, Netsuri. If you haven't already, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, number 12, Lippy the Lion. Impersonating comedian Joey Brown, Butler voiced Lippy the Lion, and legendary voice actor Mel Blanc voiced Hardy Har Har. So there's a legendary combo for you, Dawes Butler and Mel Blanc, and that wouldn't be the first nor the last time the two would work together on series. They also did work together on the Jetsons, as Mel Blanc provided the voice of Mr. Spacely. So, anyways, Har Har, the Hardy Har Har, the hyena. Number 13, Rock Slag, or another pair of characters from Rock Slag, another character from Wacky Races. Teaming with his buddy, Don Messick, who of course provided the voice of Scooby-Doo for many years, Butler voiced one half of the Slag Brothers, Rock Slag. And you notice there, the Slag Brothers are probably the inspiration for Captain Caveman. I've heard that reminder more times. I've eaten hot dinners. Yeah, I just do it. Granted, it may seem a little over the top at times. I just keep doing it anyways, just in the hopes that that it will spark some interest. Everybody, most YouTubers do it in their own way. I just try to get it out there so get people going a bit. Anyways, moving on to the number 14, Sergeant Blast, another character from Wacky Races here. In addition to Sergeant Blast, Butler also voices Big Gruesome and Rufus Roughcut. Again, all of these characters from the Wacky Races, which debuted in, I believe it was 1968, I believe, or 69. Of course, spun off two shows, The Perils of Penelope Pitstop, who, of course, was voiced by the late, great Janet Waldo, and Dastardly and Muttley and Their Flying Machines. Number 15, Wally Gator. Impersonating another comedian, this time vaudeville actor Ed Wynn, Butler voiced the swinging alligator in the swamps, who actually lived in the zoo, Wally Gator. Wally Gator, of course, was part of the Hanna-Barbera new cartoon show that debuted in 1973, I believe. With, of course, that also had Touche Turtle and Dum Dum on it, and I can't remember the third segment of that show. Of course, Yogi Bear, probably the most iconic of all of Butler's characters right here. One of my all-time favorites as well. I'm smarter than the average bear. Of course, also did the classic Christmas special, Christmas movie that I always talk about, Yogi's First Christmas. One of Butler's most famous roles, Yogi Bear, and one of his clear favorites. Butler described the work of voicing the bear as, quote, Yogi, for instance, has a sing-songy way of talking. There's almost a triplet in Yogi sing-song. There's very little variation. I'm smarter than the average bear. Watch House of Hanna-Barbera on MeTV Tunes, weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, 8 Pacific, and Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 10 a.m. Pacific. And don't forget the Sunday, of course, all-day marathon of Yogi Bear as they celebrate 65 years since the debut of Yogi Bear. And also you can catch Yogi Bear Sundays at 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific, as well as alternating weekday afternoons with the Huckleberry Hound Show at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central, and 2:30 Pacific. There you go. The picnic basket stealing buffoon. That's one way of looking at him. Anyways, I need to step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be right back. I'll put some music on though. Sometimes we'll do the wrestling rap. So, go ahead and do this call out. Article. Be right back. right, I'm back. So now we'll get ready to move on to the wrestling wrap up here. Look back to last night's Impact and Ring of Honor shows, and look ahead, of course, to tonight's SmackDown as WWE continues to build towards next Saturday's Elimination Chambers. Still probably more qualifying matches to take place on tonight's SmackDown. Airing on Sci-Fi this week, and as I mentioned earlier in the show, I believe they're airing on Sci-Fi the next few weeks here because of the Olympics coverage on USA. So that's what's probably going on there. And then, of course, we'll look ahead to tomorrow night's Collision as well. So, so with that, let me go ahead and let's start off by, of course, looking back to last night's Impact. And on last night's Impact, the show coming from the Pinnacle in Nashville, Tennessee, airing on AMC with Tom Hannafan and Matthew Ringwald on commentary. Opening match saw Indy Hartwell coming off of her loss, teaming with Xia Brookside for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Titles at last Friday's No Surrender. Indy Hartwell defeated Heather by Elegance in a one-on-one match, of course, with Ash by Elegance providing guest commentary providing guest commentary for the match, as well as M by Elegance, Mr. Elegance, and Concierge in her corner. Then you had basically his contractual rematch, Channing Lorenzo challenging for the international title, only to come up short in 13 minutes, 9 seconds. Then you had a segment in which Mike Santana addressed the situation with Steve Maclin, as Steve Maclin earlier in the night was trying to get in, and he was basically told that if you break in, we're going to have you arrested. And then he made his, pleaded his case to TNA management. And then Mike Santana called out Leon Slater. And then they were, of course, eventually confronted by the Nemeths, Ryan and Nick Nemeth, only for Dario Ray to come out and put the kibosh on what they were about to do, as they were looking to start a match. But that match between the Nemeth brothers and Slater and Santana will happen on next week's Impact. Set it up for next week. Meanwhile, I gotta wait till someone uploads the DVR to YouTube. All right. So then after that, then in a match between Tessa Blanchard and Jody Threat won by disqualification when Blanchard's Diamond Collective teammates, Mila Moore and Victoria Crawford, jumped in the ring, and the three of them were attacking Jody Threat before the team of Myla Grace and Harley Hudson came out to save Threat from the attack. Some people were not looking too highly on this match, as Jody Threat had become the number one contender to the another number one contender to the lay claim to the TNA Knockouts title, as you have, of course, Lei Yingling being the former champion has a claim to it. Ash by Elegance, who was forced to vacate the title, so was never beaten for it. Danny Luna, who won a number one contender match as well, still owed a title as well. So you got people lining up, And then in a tag team match between Sinner and Saint of Judas Icarus and Travis Williams and BDE and Rich Swann, Sinner and Saint defeated BDE and Rich Swann, and then had kind of a moment of mutual respect after the match. Then you had Eric Young do a promo calling out calling out Leon Slater, the X Division champion, as he of course has the X Division title match briefcase from Feast or Fire that he can still cash in on at any time. So that match is, and in the main event, saw in a guitar case casket match, Elijah defeated Mustafa Ali, who had, of course, the other members of Order 4 in his corner as well. So that's all that went down on. That's all that went down on Impact last night. So now we will move ahead to. Now we will, of course, move ahead to looking back on what happened on Ring of Honor, Ring of Honor's Honor Club last night. And on Ring of Honor Club, coming from the Qudos Bank Arena in Sydney, New South Australia, with Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni on commentary, Zeta Steel of the Skyflight team of Christopher Daniels in our corner defeated Johnny Robbie in 2 minutes 40 seconds. Then Skyflight as a unit of Top Flight's Martin brothers, Dante and Darius Martin, and Scorpio Sky, with, of course, Daniels and Zeta Steel in their corner, defeated the team of Che Cabrera and the Mighty Dope Neo duo of Bad Dude Tito and Shane Haste. Then Mark Davis defeated the Tuckmen in just over 5 minutes. Then you had the Sisters of Sin of Sky Blue and Julia Hart defeat Aisha and Frankie B, 7 minutes 19. In 6-man tag action, Dalton Castle and the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum, defeated the team known as North Shore Wrestling of the Osborne brothers of Jack and Sam Osborne and Will Kiedis. Just check. Yeah, as I thought, they were brothers. Australian team, basically. Mina Shirakawa defeated Charlie Evans in 8 minutes 31 seconds, and Robbie Eagles defeated Sean Dean in 7:32. So that's all that happened from all last night and stuff like that. So now let's start looking ahead. We will now look ahead to tonight's. We'll look ahead to tonight's SmackDown. Talk a little bit about what's going to be going down on SmackDown tonight. They can find the cursor, of course. On tonight's SmackDown, coming from the Amarant Bank Arena in Sunrise, Florida, and as I said, airing on Sci-Fi, you'll see Obafemi taking on Kit Wilson in singles action. In the women's Elimination Chamber qualifying match, they'll have Charlotte Flair taking on Nia Jax and Kiana James, as Charlotte's current tag partner Alexa Bliss has already qualified for it, along with Rhea Ripley and Asuka, I believe. Then in the men's qualifying triple threat match, in a non-title matches, they'll have the United States champion competing in there of Carmelo Hayes taking on Damian Priest, taking on Trick Williams. And then now we'll talk a little bit about what's going down on tomorrow night's Collision. And I'm sorry, excuse me one more moment. I'm going to need to go off camera here for a moment. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I'm back now. Let's get ready to continue on with the wrestling wrap up here. Now I just gotta find AEW. There we go. So tomorrow's Collision will be airing live on TNT from the Front Wave Arena in Oceanside, California. Matches include a returning Thunder Rose after having been gone on a hiatus. Will be taking on Julia Hart. And a match for the CMLL World Heavyweight title. Claudio Castagnoli of the Death Riders will be defending against Josh Alexander in a continuation of the Death Riders Don Callis family feud. And in a match for the AEW World Trios titles, Jet Set Rodeo of Hangman Adam Page, Speedball Mike Bailey, and the Jet Kevin Knight will be taking on the Demand of national champion Ricochet and the Gates of Agony of Bishop Gunn and Toa Leona. So that's all set for tomorrow night there. So now we're done with the wrestling wrap-up. As now we will finish off the show by, of course, talking about, well, today being Friday, February 20th, 2026. Let's take a look back at this date in Niche history. So 2011, and 2016. All right, so first off, I'm going to head back 24 years ago, as on this date in the year 2002, back in 2002, 24 years ago today. The 10th issue of Exiles from Marvel Comics went on sale on this date back in 2002. It sold for $2.25, 32 pages. Part 3 of the A World Apart story, as written by Judd Winnick, penciled by Mike McConey, inked by Jonathan E. Holdridge, lettered by Paul Tutrone, and colored by Transparency Digital. So sounds like a company did it this time. Instead, Lily got Chameleon, one of the characters on the Exiles. At least to me, that looks like Chameleon, but I don't know. Spider-Man's one of Spider-Man's, but I could be wrong. But anyways, that's 24 years ago. So now, moving on to the next piece of niche history. Here. We move ahead to the year 2011, 15 years ago today. And on this date, 15 years ago today, WWE held its Elimination Chamber pay-per-view on this date back in 2011. In Germany, it was called No Way Out. It was held at the Oracle Arena in Oakland, California. It was actually the second annual Elimination Chamber event. With, of course, the results as follows. The main event saw John Cena outlast Randy Orton, John Morrison, R-Truth, King Sheamus, and CM Punk in a Raw Elimination Chamber match, determined the number one contender to the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 27, I believe. The Miz successfully retained the WWE Championship over Jerry the King Lawler. In a match for the WWE Tag Team Championships, the core duo of Justin Gabriel and Heath Slater with Ezekiel Jackson in their corner defeated Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov to become new champions. Then in the match for the World Heavyweight Championship, in the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match, Edge successfully retained over Kane, Drew McIntyre, Wade Barrett, Rey Mysterio, and Big Show. And then the show opened up with Alberto Del Rio defeating Kofi Kingston in 10 minutes, 30 seconds. And then the dark match before the show, Daniel Bryan retained the WWE United States Championship over Ted DiBiase. That's Ted DiBiase Jr., that is. So, and now we move ahead to the year 2016, 10 years ago today, on this date, 10 years ago today. Pokemon the Series XYZ would make its Cartoon Network premiere on this date in 2016, about 4 months after the Japanese premiere. So, Pokemon the Series XYZ premiered on Cartoon, made its English language premiere on Cartoon Network on this date 10 years ago today. So, with that being said, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back, of course, on Sunday. On Sunday, I'll be joined by Sabrina from Devil Flyer Momentum, and we'll be taking a look at comics that went on sale in August of 1940. This week, we'll be focusing in on the company that's known today as Archie, known back then as MLJ Enterprises. We'll be introducing everybody to the Black Hood. So hopefully you'll be looking forward to that. And with all that being said, and thank you, Netsuri, for the comment. Have a good Saturday. I hope to do so. But with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here on Sunday. Bye.